Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I today will be reviewing Wrestlemania 2. I have some extreme feelings towards this WrestleMania. I'm not gonna lie. It was almost the complete opposite from my experience of watching WrestleMania 1. But I once again will give out my favorite moment of the WrestleMania, my favorite match, and then my favorite or my least favorite match. So to start off, I'm going to give a little bit of backstory before we fully get into the card. This was held at 3 separate venues, which I don't know why they did that, and I'm kind of surprised that hasn't happened yet with the 2-night WrestleMania, but I'm glad it hasn't happened because that just, in my opinion, completely ruins it. I think if Vince was still in creative, it would not be too much of a shock if he did that within the near future. If he was the one that was in control of the WWE instead of Triple H. But man, just a couple things I'll mention before I fully get into it though. Commentary, one thing I said was awesome in the last WrestleMania. It was very classic. But this time, man, it was all over the place. And I don't think the commentary at any point was really that good. There were a lot of very, very uncomfortable moments and moments of them talking over each other. I will say the overall production of WrestleMania and WrestleMania 2 has, in my opinion, drastically improved in comparison to WrestleMania 1. So just in 1 year, we've already seen a big jump with them actually using microphones and for the ring announcers. And then they also don't constantly have that bell ringing, which is so nice. That was one of my biggest complaints about WrestleMania. But let's actually get into the matches. So the first one was Paul Orndorff and the Magnificent Morocco with Mr. Fuji, and it ended in a double countout. I don't understand this match at all. It was okay, and then it ends in a fast countout. And I think this was the first time, but there was a first time in WrestleMania history that there was a bullshit chant. That's how much, and this is like early wrestling, so you could get away with a lot more things, but even back then, people were like, this is stupid. That match was coming in at only 4 minutes and 10 seconds, so they didn't really have a lot of time to really tell a story, and that's something I'm glad that they don't do as much anymore, is putting these much shorter matches on the card, because it makes it to where you have time for a story to build within said match. But then the next match, match 2, this one was in New York. It went New York, Chicago, and then finished in Los Angeles. But for the night, for the New York part of the card, the second match is Randy Savage versus George the Animal Steel for the Intercontinental Championship. Not a good match either. I was kind of excited for it because when I would kind of hear about older wrestling, I was quite into Randy Savage. And to just have it pretty much be like every few moves, George the Animal Steel would bite Randy Savage, but George the Animal Steel would like interact weird with Miss Elizabeth and try to like hit on her, but yet he was the good guy. I don't really know how that makes any sense. And he was kind of using like what I would consider heelish tactics with the biting and stuff, because that's technically against the rules. So I don't quite understand that match. Honestly, I couldn't get into it. And the kind of similar thing to be said about the next match on the card, which the next match was Jake Roberts versus George Wells. In just a normal singles match, I thought this match was like so boring. It was once again a short match. They have so many short matches on this WrestleMania card. It just so far the experience of watching this was pretty much just like it felt like such a bore, and it was so long, and like it felt so long in certain matches even though they really weren't that long. It was not, I did not really enjoy watching this WrestleMania, and I try to stay more positive when I do talk about wrestling, but so far the matches have not been up to quality. And then right after you have those three matches, those three boring matches, you have Mr. T and Roddy Piper in a boxing match for 13 minutes and 14 seconds. This is the longest match on the card. And this match gets the reward of being the worst match on the card. Oh my gosh. I've heard people talk crap about how bad of a match it is, but I feel like people are not discussing how bad it actually is. Because all they're doing is like, they don't want to actually hurt each other, so they're punching each other in the sides. Which the whole point, what makes boxing interesting is that knockout, and it ends with a body slam. That's the main event at the venue in New York. I would have been furious. I would have been demanding my money back, because those four matches are single-handedly the worst matches, or some of the worst matches I have ever seen. They are boring. They accomplish nothing in story. Within the first four matches, you had none of them go over 5 minutes and 30 seconds, except for the last one, which felt like 30 minutes. Boring, annoying match, and quite honestly, don't ever want to rewatch that match. That is so far the one genuine match where I would put it up there as one of my least favorite matches of all time. The next part is in Chicago, and this has the shortest matches on it, this section of it. You have Fabulous Moolah versus, I'm not going to pronounce her name correctly, but I think it's Velvet. And it was for the WWF Women's Championship. And it takes everything good about last year's WrestleMania, where I said the one match you have to look at is the women's match. This match was 1 minute and 25 seconds. This is what I was expecting older WrestleManias to treat their women wrestlers. And it makes me so upset, because now you look at women's wrestling and it's so good. It's sometimes even better than the men's wrestling. So to sit here and have a 1 minute WrestleMania match where the Fabulous Moolah wins in a 1 minute and 5-second match. Oh my gosh. I remember like when I first watched WrestleMania 1, I was annoyed that Fabulous Moolah was on there, because I don't like her. I've heard about some stories outside of her time in the ring, and from like behind the scenes, she just did not seem like a good person. And no, I did not like this one bit. But then the next one is, it was Nikolai Volkov and Corporal Krintzer. I really don't know. I don't know. And apparently this was a flag match, but they didn't grab any flags. This match was pretty much just like, it was pretty much just like America versus USSR, which for whatever reason, WWE, that was something that they were so obsessed with doing, is like these foreign guys versus America, which I don't think that's necessary. You can have that kind of feud and it be interesting, but that is a pop quiz question. That has no business. It's a 2 minute and 5-second match. All for them to be like, yeah, America's awesome. America, yeah, let's go. I think it's did not need to be on a WrestleMania card. There's so many matches like in this event where I don't even think they would main event the show main event or superstars. That's how bad and lackluster these matches are. I could not imagine watching a less than 3-minute WrestleMania match and be fully entertained with it. Because there's not many wrestlers who can have a quick story. Like, a great example of, like, a quick match that happened at a bigger event was, like, it was Brock versus Goldberg. I want to say that was either Survivor Series or SummerSlam, where it's a quick high-hitting match where Goldberg spears Jackhammer, wins against Brock Lesnar. Like, that can be done well. It can be done well. But this is early WWF we're talking about. This is not newer WWE, where you can make that happen and it's more entertaining. You can actually kind of tell a story of, like, big move, big move, big move. But no, in a lot of these matches that are shorter, it's like a few moves, pin, 1, 2, 3, it's over. I would hate to have been around and actually spent money on this show. Because even if I was watching it pay-per-view wise, like I was watching it at my house, I would still feel robbed. Up to this point, genuinely, the best match for the best match up to this point is a Battle Royal, which is the next match. Andre the Giant won a Battle Royal, and apparently he was called, like, it was with, like, NFL guys. And apparently Andre the Giant was called, like, Mr. Battle Royal, which is not a good nickname. And, you know, but Vince knows how to book giants, apparently. He don't. Spoiler alert, he don't. He has no idea how to book wrestling in general. I'm surprised WWE has lasted as long as it has. But, in this Battle Royal, though, I will give my favorite moment, which will be Andre the Giant wearing yellow trunks. Because I never expected that. That is so out of left field. That's like the first WrestleMania special attire. Because I've never seen anything about him being in a yellow trunk. Or maybe I have, but I just completely cleared it out of my mind. Because all you would see is him with the singlet, black singlet, or the black shorts. That's what I would see more. So it was kind of surprising to see him in something else. But honestly, that match, it was a 9-minute Battle Royal. It was okay. I did not care about a single one of the NFL players that got in there, by the way. Did not care about it, except for I did, get a little excited when Willie and the Refrigerator Perry showed up to the match, because I was not expecting that. A lot of these older WrestleManias I have not watched, so it's kind of like this journey that I'm experiencing, and I get to pretty much talk to you guys about my experience watching it, and it's like pretty cool to look back at these older WrestleManias and see like a surprise and be like, whoa, I was not expecting that, because I haven't watched the WrestleManias before. But the fourth match and the final match of Chicago is the British Bulldogs with Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid versus the Dream Team, Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake, for the WWF Tag Team Champions. And I got to say, this deserves match of the night. I genuinely, the rest of this card is pretty much boring, and I don't enjoy like pretty much most of this match. That's why I was so hesitant to even necessarily want to publish a video about it, because I want to try and stay more positive towards wrestling, and this show just really makes that very difficult. So I'm trying to point out these positives, and man, this match was pretty solid. You had the quick, but the strength that Davey Boy Smith has, and then Dynamite Kid, he's this agile, like unpredictable kind of wrestler. I like their dynamic. And it actually had like some good back and forth bits in between it. There were some like nice spots. It was overall like definitely the match that I enjoyed the most out of this card for sure. And then to go into Los Angeles, your last 4 matches of the card, you have Ricky Steamboat versus Hercules Hernandez. And this match was quite the opposite of my enjoyment from WrestleMania 1. I kind of enjoyed that match, but this match I don't like. There just becomes a point where Hercules Hernandez is beating the crap out of Ricky Steamboat, and he hits a splash from the top rope, and it's over. No real comeback spot. Like, quick splash from the top rope, 1, 2, 3, over. What is the point? What is the point? At least, like, that would have worked with a shorter match, but they gave it it was a 7-minute match. It was one of the longest matches on the card. But it wasn't entertaining, and I was kind of disappointed by this, because I've heard good things about Ricky Steamboat, and I kind of liked him, cause, like, I heard things about him, and I watched, like, a couple of matches of his years ago, and I kind of did like him. But very much a different turnaround for Ricky Steamboat, match quality wise, in the second WrestleMania. It's quite a shame what 1 year of WrestleMania, just within 1 year of that, it goes from me like kind of quite enjoying it to not really liking most of this WrestleMania. But then you have in the second match, Adrian Adonis versus Uncle Elmer. This did not age well at all. Why was it allowed for Adrian Adonis to be portrayed as like a trans character? This wouldn't even remotely fly in today's wrestling. So, the fact that I feel like nobody talks about that. That is ridiculous. Throughout this entire match, I was like, I don't care about it. I don't want to watch this. This is not good. And it wasn't. And it was only a 3-minute match, but it felt like 10. Very slow, boring match. And then on top of it, you have the controversialness of Adrian Adonis, who wins anyway. And the manager of that match was Jimmy Hart. And then he turned around and managed Terry Funk and Hoss Funk, the Funk brothers. And I did not understand that. I'm not going to lie. That did not make much sense to me, honestly. But they were versing Tito Santana versus... and the Junkyard Dog. My apologies. And yet another year goes by where Junkyard Dog loses at WrestleMania. Whatever. I don't have anything to say about this match. I thought it was boring. I did not enjoy it. My whole like viewing of this has been so negative, and it's been like, I hope WrestleMania 3 is better. But man, this one was kind of rough. But I still did kind of know that going into it, so it's not too much of a shock. But I still had very low expectations, and it somehow did worse than those expectations. But then you have Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship in a steel cage match. It was okay. It was okay at best. I think it was better than WrestleMania 1's main event. But honestly, if anybody's right mind genuinely thought that Hulk Hogan was losing that championship, obviously they've not been paying attention to wrestling. And that's okay. But honestly, for what I was expecting, and I was pretty much expecting like very low quality wrestling, it was decent at best at times. So I will say that match surprised me. But still, with that being the main event of WrestleMania, on this card that had 3 separate venues, the only one that was actually main event worthy was the tag team match for the World Tag Team Championships. That's the only one that I think actually deserved to be the main event. But overall, I'm going to try to say a few positives and negatives. Positive. Well, I'll start off with the positives, and I think that like the production improved, which was pretty good to see. I think them having more consistent entrances into the matches and stuff was better. Like, still, I wish every wrestler had an entrance, but I understand when you packed it so much full of wrestling and you don't give it that long of a time to actually play out, you have to cut time, which would be the entrances. But overall, they did improve on actually having wrestlers enter the arena. So that's definitely positive. And once again, that tag team match. Big praises for that tag team match. Actually pretty good, and I think it has honestly aged pretty well. That's one thing I gotta say about like the wrestling matches I'm enjoying from these WrestleManias. I don't think I would ever really go out of my way to watch them again. But if someone was like, hey, do you like a match from this WrestleMania? I could be like, oh yeah, this one's pretty good. This one will surprise you. Or if someone's like, show me early tag team wrestling or early women's wrestling, I now have matches to show them. But I think it was bold. I think it was a bold move, and I think that they've learned since then, which I think I can now turn this into a positive, the 3 venue events. It's now more of a positive thing because they've never done it again. They tried, it failed, never again. But then we got the negatives. The negatives is pretty much everything about this WrestleMania is worse than the WrestleMania before. Like, I think there were points in the WrestleMania before where it dragged. But it was kind of like I could give it leeway. But it's like with the second WrestleMania, it wasn't that it dragged. It's that it was so inconsistent and most of the matches did not have enough time to really say anything. But another negative is like that women's match. It is such a letdown from the WrestleMania before having, in my opinion, match of the night to then turn around and have such a bummer 1 minute and 25-second match. I think is so offensive. I think that's so offensive that was the case. But overall, if you want to check out this WrestleMania, do it. I mean, I think that's one thing that is making me appreciate newer wrestling is seeing how much progression there has been with all these years of WrestleMania. But this review was a little bit shorter. But I had a lot of negativity with this WrestleMania, and then when I watched it, I knew I wanted to kind of make it a bit shorter, so I wasn't so negative. But if there are any wrestling shows specifically, you want me to react to or review, just let me know down in the comments, and I will check them out. Well, that is it for today's video. You guys have a great rest of your day.